All right, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Raiderland, the daily broadcast. Coming to you from the Arctic Air Studios tonight and every night if your air gets too Arctic over the weekend. Here in the Hubaplex, where lows are expected to be in the, kicker numbers to low quarterback numbers. Yeah, you need to callthebear.com. Of course, you can get on the United Supermarkets text line 806 772 0197. If you're watching on Twitter and YouTube tonight, we want you to do that. Brought to you in part by Gators, Bayou 98th and Slide Road. The game is always on there at Gators. And why is that important? Well, they have the sound on. So if you can't make it out to the United Supermarkets Arena, you can't go out there, or it's a road game, or it's a game on Peacock, well, they got the game. And you can hear actually what's going on. So that's kind of a cool deal. That's why we love what they do there at Gators Bayou. And then there's old Boot City, just turning out awesome shirts for us to wear here on the daily broadcast. All right, so we got Texas Tech basketball, Big 12 basketball better than Big 12 football. True or false? Yes or no? Which one's better? Is Big 12 basketball actually more fun than Big 12 football? Is it okay to say that? Are we such football people that we can't say, hey, this is actually kind of better, kind of more fun? And then we ask the either or question today on the website, theraiderland.com, where you start your day every day and you go check out all the cool morning hot links and you add your own, hopefully, and grow that. Which accomplishments are more impressive? What Bill Belichick accomplished in the NFL or what Nick Saban accomplished in college football? Which was more impressive? Which was harder to do? Which was better? Either what Belichick has done, he's not done yet, he'll coach next year, or what Nick Saban has done. I think he's done coaching. And we'll as we go through tonight later on, I'll have a alternate history, Tom Landry versus Bill Belichick. Hi there, Jim. Hi there, Alan. Hi there, Neil. Hi there, everybody getting in. You guys know what to do. Share the message. Let us know the audio is good, the video is good. Give us hearts, a little thumbs up. And then we're off and going. 3 into good evening, West Texans, all you good, fine, friendly folks out there who wish you were. I'm Ryan Hyatt, theraiderland.com. We hope you access us at the website every day. Start your day there, get your comments in, and have some fun. Check out all we do. Also on Facebook, Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland. And, of course, YouTube. Many of you watching us on YouTube Live right now. Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland on that. Yeah, so, it all comes together. And then the Twitter people, yeah. So if you're on Twitter or YouTube and you want to comment, please use the United Supermarkets text line, 806 772 0197. Just like the radio show, that's how it's easier to funnel it all into one place. Alan is already weighing in on one of the questions. True, Big 12 basketball better and more entertaining than Big 12 football. We asked that tonight. With the league rocking and rolling again. What we've seen the last couple of nights, Iowa State, Houston, yeah, you get the idea. Is it okay to say, can you bring yourself to bear? Would you be willing to admit that hey, Big 12 basketball is even more entertaining than Big 12 football? Not in a pejorative way. It's just good, Then this is the either or question. On Thursdays, we ask you hard choice questions. Life usually not black and white. More impressive accomplishment, what Belichick did in the NFL in the salary cap era with the New England Patriots, or what Nick Saban has done over the last 20 years at the college level. Chris says Saban won with different quarterbacks. Obviously, he did. They could only stay for a certain amount of time. Bill Belichick won with Tom Brady, and then a cast of characters moving in and out, and the massive roster changes that mirror college football to an extent in the NFL during the salary cap era. All while playing against a league that everything is designed to level the playing field in the NFL. Everything is designed to hurt the New England Patriots over the last 25 years. Everything is designed to bring down good teams. Yet there they were. Nothing in college football is designed to bring down good teams. In fact, everything is designed to uphold and help good teams be good teams and keep being good teams. Up until recently with NIL and the transfer portal. So which was more impressive to you? Which do you think is more harder to do? What Belichick did in the NFL, what Saban has done in college football. And Belichick is going to ride off to, the Chargers or wherever. He's going to try to find some place with a ready-made quarterback, and he's going to chase down Don Shula's all-time winningest record. He needs 15 more wins. He'll probably get there if everything holds together. And that's why we're going to discuss later on Tom Landry versus Belichick. So either Belichick or Saban, the more impressive record. Big 12 basketball, Big 12 football. What entertains you more and why? Which one? Off the United Supermarkets text line, the texter out of the area code of the 214. I think we all know what that means, right? Who will be more successful when it's all said and done, Saban or Kirby Smart? Don't know. Smart's got a really good start. Roughly the same timeline age-wise. We have to look at the changing landscape of college football and say, will he enter an era in college football much the way coaches in the NFL entered it in the mid to late 90s with the salary cap? Are we going to that in college football? Will we see the coalescing of the top 64 teams or whatever you want to do? Will that make it harder to do what Saban has done? I don't know. He's got a great start. I said last night, I stand by it. We always say nobody will ever do anything ever again. No one will ever equal this. There'll never be another Bear Bryant until there was a Nick Saban. There'll never be another George Halas until there was a Don Shula. You get the idea, that there's always another one. There'll never be another Babe Ruth until Shohei Ohtani showed up and started doing Babe Ruth things. It took 100 freaking years, give or take. You get the idea. Alan, Tom Landry was hampered by number 11. Could have been better with another quarterback. Yeah, Steve Bartkowski, Joe Theismann, Phil Simms, Randall Cunningham. Everyone but Hogan Boom. What was his name? Greg, Glenn? I don't even know. Landry didn't know it. He couldn't pronounce his name in a press conference. Hogan Bloom, whatever his name is. Hi there, CJ. Saban even won Michigan State with much less talent than he had at Bama. He coached his coaches. Why do you think Mark D'Antonio was so successful as that? Because Saban paved the way for success. Yeah. And people forget Lou Saban, his dad, was a pretty darn good coach. We've released some things like I was holding on to it. No, we retweeted some things on Twitter. The Saban, coaching elevation there in the NFL, working with some guy named Bill Belichick, coming out of that Parcells tree on down Michigan State, and then obviously doing what he did later on. Do you think DeBoer goes to Bama? I don't know. If they ask him, he probably would. I mean, I think this is an ask job right now if you're Alabama. If you ask, they probably come. Now, we go back to Dan Lanning at Oregon. Did they ask? Reporting today totally contradicts everything that they said yesterday, which he's in Tuscaloosa down there. He's looking around. He's going to, no, he would never win. They released a video this morning. I'm staying in Oregon. I think there's enough legitimate trepidation of following a legend, and there are enough good places now in college football that you don't have to do it. And you can look at the expanded playoff. Bingo. Hello, what's hurting Alabama right now? Expanded playoffs. Yeah. You can get to the playoffs out of the Pac-12 like they did this year. You don't have to be at Alabama. That it was a closed shop for a decade, 2 decades, more or less, on this thing. One of the things that'll hurt Alabama is you don't have to be in Alabama anymore to get into the tournament, get into the college football playoff. So who replaces the legend? We can go back and look at the history of Alabama, whether it was Ray Perkins coming back. Stood no chance whatsoever leaving the Giants. They had to have one of Bear's boys. It took years for them to get right after Bear Bryant retired through the 80s and struggling through that. And then, they get Gene Stallings, one of Bears' boys, after getting fired by Arizona, the Cardinals in the desert, which will tie into Landry here in a little bit here when we do our alt history towards the end of the show. Tom Landry versus Bill Belichick. They stagger around. Then they hire people like Mike Shula, and then roll tide, how that goes. So it's not just a given that Alabama just immediately rolls out of bed tomorrow and makes a great hire and continues doing what they do, because that wasn't the case after Bear Bryant. Buyouts are for these coaches that are considered huge, but Bama probably doesn't mind. Man, no. Listen, if you want to coach, you can afford the buyout. There are so many ways around that. The only real buyout literally was Jimbo down there at A&M. That was a legit, you got to pony up the dough. Most of these buyouts have so many clauses in it that, so say it's a $40 million buyout. The school can get out of it for about half that. Dennis Franchione was at Alabama at one point. Yes, he was there after leaving, Texas A&M? He left A&M to go to Alabama? Is that right? I'm losing track of where he was. TCU, New Mexico, TCU, Alabama, then A&M? I don't know. Off the text line, 806-772-0197. Saban elevated the entire SEC. The SEC was an afterthought before he arrived at LSU. Every SEC team had to get better at coaching, recruiting, paying assistants, building better facilities, making the SEC the NFL of college football. There is more than a modicum of truth to what the texter is saying. I know it's hard to believe. Now, the SEC was never a bad conference, but LSU had languished. Curly Hallman, a couple different coaches during that time period. That a lot of the teams that if you're a 20-something, 30-something right now that you think were just great teams all the time in the SEC, they really weren't. At various times during the 90s, early 2000s, they had their problems. I left Bama to go to A&M. Left Bama to go to A&M. Yeah, get confused on that. A man who does not get confused just joined us from KMAC 28, Red Raider Nation. You hear him on the radio from whenever the show is on to whenever it's off. Forgive me, I don't know the times. It's David Collier from KMAC 28. Everybody give him a rousing round of applause for making his way in. Give a free plug for the show. You're not competing against me on radio anymore, so I don't worry about it. You and Haxton, knock yourselves out, guys. And I'm not being funny. I just can't remember. I think you guys start at 10? Is it 10? 10 a.m. to noon? 10 to 1? 10 to... Not being funny here, David. Don't hang me out to dry. I'm trying to give you a free plug here. Help me out. I just can't remember the exact time frame, you guys are on. Which I heard a promo driving down the road the other night. Oh, that's cool, man. 9 to 12. Okay, there you go, 9 to 12. That's Central Time for those watching outside the area. And all of a sudden I heard a promo. I was like, that sounds like Collier hanging out with Haxton. Then I'm like, oh my gosh. He's like on. He's back. Back in the New York groove. Randy, the Big 8, the U, Big 10 are in circles around SEC schools prior to Saban's arrival. Yeah, Big 10 had a good run in the 90s. Certainly the Ohio State, the original Ohio State days during the late 90s, early 2. I'll give you that. So we're asking tonight what's more impressive, what Nick Saban did in college football or what Bill Belichick did in the NFL. Which one was more impressive? Which one's harder to do? The Belichick era and the salary cap era in a league designed to absolutely tear you down, or what Saban did at Alabama, a blue blood school, if you will. Which was more impressive and why? And then we ask, is Big 12 basketball more exciting? Big 12 men's basketball more exciting than football? And I'm a football guy. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a football guy. You see that picture right there above me? That's me, football guy right there. Yeah, I lean towards making the case that right now that there are so many great programs to good programs to really good programs in the Big 12 on the basketball side. I love basketball. Yeah, I did a few years worth of it. Kind of did some play-by-play and stuff in it. But I lean towards the night in, night out drama of Big 12 basketball. The old 18-round fight, bring your boxing gloves. Thank you, Mark Adams. I appreciate the analogy. Good luck wherever you are. We know where he is, Eastern Carolina. That I kind of lean towards what basketball gives me January, February, March in the Big 12 than maybe what football gives me. I lean that way. Texter Big 12 basketball equivalent to SEC football at the United Supermarkets text line. It's just getting better with the four corner teams coming in. Yeah, I mean, Arizona alone, Houston coming in, I know they lost to Iowa State. Welcome to the Big 12. That's the difference. We do this every night in the Big 12, that the teams, the biggest adjustment they have is not, I think, physicality or maybe even talent. Sometimes it's up here. It's you got to go through this each and every night. When the Lady Raiders joined the Big 12, they had owned the Southwest Conference along with UT for the previous 4 years. 3, 4, 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And you had nights off. You played 4 or 5 games a year in Southwest Conference play in those final few seasons that really tested you. All of a sudden in the Big 12, it got a little different. You were going to Colorado. Kansas was good in women's basketball at the time. Kansas State was getting better. Nebraska was not a bad team at all. Matt Cody would appreciate me saying that. But it was the mental grind of all of a sudden doing that every single night out. That you had traded a horrible, Baylor team for a really good Colorado team, whatever you want to do. So we asked the question tonight: more entertaining, more fun, Big 12 men's basketball or football? I got to back up a little bit on the comments. Sorry. All right. So Ryan says, yes, Big 12 basketball more entertaining, especially when Tech is good. But my heart's not in it as much as football. I get it. I understand, Stephen. It's more impressive what Brady did for New England than Belichick. And there will be those who will say, what is it, 30 and something? It's like 25 games under 500 or whatever without Tom Brady for Bill Belichick. I get it. Former coach Nick Saban needs a helmet sticker. Does he? I don't know if he does or not. Let's get him a Raiderland helmet sticker. Did anybody have UCF knocking off KU in their bingo card? Check. No. Not at all. Nobody. UCF just showed up in the Big 12 and said, we can join this party. Yeah, we can do this. Why not? We're in the Big 12 now. We can beat people. I am hearing things, by the way, regarding Kansas internally, and I'm not ready to divulge any of my sources at all. 100%. And they're deep, deep, deep. That's not a one-off deal, that something might be a little amiss inside the program. Remember, I said this in a month, okay? Everybody write this down. Remember, Ryan Hyatt on, what is today, January the 11th, said he was told by somebody who I trust, something's going on. Now, it may turn into nothing. And it probably will turn into nothing. But just remember, I said, hey, kind of pay attention to this. There might be some stuff going on there. All right, I'll tell you. Bill Self is taking over at Alabama. All right, there you go. God, I can't keep a secret. Off the text line, United Supermarkets. KU is about to implode and it's self-inflicted. I see what you did there. Saban dominated at Michigan State, LSU, Bama. He is built different. Yeah. Or he's built like a lot of good coaches that attention to detail, do what you do, and a willingness to adapt to changing systems. I liken him. I look at what Saban did in winning over the course of the late 90s on into Alabama and what he did through those years in the changing landscape to what Mike Krzyzewski did at Duke, that he changed with the landscape. He changed with changing recruiting practices, rule changes, anything and everything. He changed. People will, I think, misinterpret him stepping away and say, "Well, it's NIL, it's this, it's that." No, he's older. He wouldn't be stepping aside at age 62 or 61 with all this stuff going on. But with what he's done and where he is age-wise, he doesn't have to deal with it. And he wouldn't have to deal with it whether there was NIL or anything else. And people are going to misinterpret this. Remember I said this. That's not it. But you reach a certain point, you just go, I don't have to deal with any of it anymore. And when you function at such a high level as that, it's hard to do. It's impressive to do as long as he did. Now, Jay Wright, we can go back to college basketball in Villanova, and Jay Wright had his skins on the wall, and he literally could have kept on coaching, but he didn't want to deal with the changes in college basketball. He'd put up with it long enough. That's a different deal than Saban. Saban's literally old. Ryan Hyatt, Saban post-game show, one of the best shows we've ever had. I can only imagine. Alabama makes good hair pieces. Sometimes I just read stuff and then I have to go back and look at it and wonder what I just read. Is it a hairpiece? Is it really? He's always had some really good hair. All right. A few more moments with you tonight. Your thoughts in on Big 12 basketball versus Big 12 football. What's more entertaining, more exciting? What do you consider the better accomplishment? What was harder to do? What Saban did in Alabama or in college football? I shouldn't say Alabama, LSU. And what Belichick did in the NFL. And for the record, I'll tell you this, I'm not a huge Belichick fan. We'd either get along really good or we'd hate each other. I'm not really sure which. Because there are a lot of things that I can kind of see me gravitating to and other things that I had to punch him in the nose. Keith Jackson said Alabama better than anybody. Yes, he did. Just a good Pat Dye job. Nicely done. One for Pat Ty, Auburn. Bow over the top. Collier, sometime you need to, when you're around Don Williams, get him to tell you the stories of Pat Dye accidentally calling him at 8 in the morning on a Sunday morning and the conversation they had. This is a true story. Pat Dye accidentally calls Don Williams at home at like 8 in the morning on Sunday, and he couldn't get him off the phone. I don't know if you guys have ever talked to Don on the phone. It's easy to get Don off the phone. It's a great story. Sounds like Pat Dye, yeah. And I'm not going to tell it because I'll butcher the story. Don's got to tell the story. Did you see the dorks at Auburn rolling tumors after the Saban announcement? I didn't see it. Not surprised. Tumors corner there. That's where they throw the toilet paper up there because what good Auburn fan needs toilet paper? Not a single one of them. They got corn cobs. What? He said it loud? Yeah, well. All right, so I got to answer my own questions tonight. Right now, yeah, I do find Big 12 basketball, if not more entertaining, more entertaining, more fun than Big 12 football. I really do. Now, on the Belichick-Saban deal, I lean towards Belichick and what he did. And people say, well, he did it with the same quarterback. Yeah, he did. But stay with me here. Every other piece changed. He lost coaches. He got coaches. He brought in new coaches. He went through the salary cap. He went through 20 years of not being able to draft well. Not draft well, but not have great draft picks, high draft picks. Everything about the schedule every year was built to drag them down, and they still did it. They still got there. And the revisionist history is going to swoop in quickly on Belichick, and it will be a lot of Brady this and Brady that, different things. But I lean towards what Belichick did in the NFL because I can't say enough how everything in the NFL is built against you to be good, and everything in college football is built for you to be good if you're good. More impressive for Nick Saban. College kids, adults, big difference in perception of how life works. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. But, I mean, it's like infinitesimally small, the edge I give what Belichick did. Because we've seen great runs in college football. We've seen great coaching runs. And I know, we've not had the playoff era and everything else. And it's really dicey. And I'm contradicting my own self and saying what, Saban did versus what Bear Bryant did and just celebrating its own time. Yeah. And it's hard to compare and contrast. We've seen some really, really good runs in difficult scenarios in college football. But to date, we've only seen Belichick do it in this realm of NFL football, the way it's structured. So until somebody else does that, and they will, somebody is going to come along and duplicate what Belichick did. They always do. There was never going to be another Hallis. There was never going to be another Lombardi. There was never going to be another Landry, Shula. Well, there still hadn't been Shula on the Wiz. No, all that stuff. Well enough to remember when Bear Bryant retired, there'd never be another Bear Bryant. Well, here we are talking about this. So when I see all these people saying it'll never happen again, it'll happen again. It always happens again. We got to learn to celebrate in the moment the people that are doing great things in the moment. That doesn't mean that there's not definitive answers to some things, but sometimes I don't have to have them. With this cold front spell coming in, maybe that will make you feel better. I feel fine. I just feel like crap. Texter on the text line, did Sonny Dykes really get a call from Bama today? I hope he did. That'd be cool. Coronado Mustang teammate getting a call from Alabama. Rock on, Sonny. I hope you did. I'm trying to think of who we went to school with that we know that lives in Alabama that would have called him. Now, let's do an alternate history real quick. We're going to go green, white, checker here. I mentioned Belichick and Landry earlier, and a divergent timeline in the NFL, if you will. Anybody know this real quick? And I'm only going to wait about 15 seconds. How old was Tom Landry when Jerry Jones fired him? When Jerry Jones fires Tom Landry in February of 1989, after the 88 season, he buys the team from Bum Bright. Bum Bright was just perilously short on cash after the S&L crisis and everything else. He had so much exposure on the banking crisis that he had to sell the team. He literally had to sell the team, and Jerry Jones comes in, he buys it, and he's going to fire Tom Landry. Tom Landry was 65 years old. 65 years old. We look at that today, and that's nothing, right? What, 72 on Belichick? Pete Carroll, 74? People are talking about Pete Carroll could keep coaching. Belichick will keep coaching. That we've changed our nature and everything else. But how different? Put yourself in the Dallas Cowboy fan that you were in 1989. And even though they'd missed the playoffs in 4 out of the last 5 years during that stretch, how different would it have been if in 1989, the fall of 1989, Tom Landry is walking the sidelines with a fedora hat on another NFL team. He could have kept going. I look back at some of the potential landing spots, the jobs that were open, and the most logical one would have been one of his neighbors hiring him to coach just a few hours up I-35 in Kansas City, and then instead of was it Schottenheimer? Was it Schottenheimer? Who takes over? Yeah. Then in 1989, it's Tom Landry who takes over the Kansas City Chiefs with Lamar Hunt. They live literally blocks away from each other there in Highland Park. Longtime Dallas resident, obviously Dallas, Texas, all that tie-in. But can you imagine how different would it have felt if Tom Landry goes and coaches in Kansas City in 1989, and there they go, and a year or two later, and he's got Joe Montana coming in. This is where the alt history gets a little fuzzy because you never know what would have played out and everything else. But let's just say he gets the talent that the Chiefs had in the early 90s when Montana shows up, an aging Marcus Allen, who is still pretty darn good, and a Kansas City team that makes the playoffs. Different attitude regarding retiring. Not a different attitude. A lot of guys kept on coaching. He didn't want to retire. Tom Landry wanted to keep coaching. He didn't retire, Jared. He got fired down in Austin on, what was it, the third hole or whatever it was. He wanted to keep coaching. How different would it have been, though? And I'm asking this for Cowboy fans. So you have to be a certain age to say, how would that have changed how you view Tom Landry? Because this is what the New England fans are going to go through. Bill Belichick's going to coach another team. And he may win, he may not. But he's going to be out there. How different would it have been if you're a Cowboy fan and there's Tom Landry coaching the Chiefs? Fascinates me on what that would have looked like. I mean, we saw Emmitt Smith in a Cardinals uniform, Tony Dorsett in a Denver Broncos uniform, or Tom with the triplets. Yeah, well, he probably doesn't get that opportunity just because he probably doesn't make the Herschel Walker trade. But I know what the texter on the United Supermarkets text line is saying. Yeah, people forget Landry was fighting hard for his job. He had cut loose a ton of assistants there in 87, 88, remaking the staff, remaking everything. Him and Tex Schramm trying to revamp everything that they had lost in the most highly competitive at that time division in football. It would stay that way for several years. You know, Landry with a feather in the fedora, Yankee Doodle Dandy. Did coach the New York Giants for a period. But if you're a Cowboy fan, and it's hard to ask this today. If I asked this in 1990, it's a different question. And I did have a talk show. Amazingly enough, yes, I'm old enough to have had a talk show back then. But I don't ever remember us asking the question of how would you have felt if Tom Landry coached another team? The AFC West coaches next season include Bill and Jim with Andy and Sean. Well, it could be. And it sure looks like, I think if I'm Belichick, I am totally looking at the Chargers. He doesn't have time to rebuild. So there you go. United Supermarkets text line, Stallings then or earlier to tie in Bo. Gene Stallings at that time was getting fired from Arizona. So the time when Tom's getting fired, Gene Stallings, the former Cowboy assistant, you guys know your stuff. He ends up at Alabama doing that thing. He even got rid of the Landry shift to try to remake himself. Yes, they did. in 87, 86 or 87. I'm trying to remember the last year they did the Landry shift, which the NFL didn't outlaw it, but they quasi outlawed it. That all the other teams and the owners, they kind of came up with this rule that basically made it really hard to do it unless everybody did it just right. And they were like, fine, whatever, we'll give it up. So, yeah, Tom Landry, if he did the Bill Belichick thing 7 years earlier in life, that would have been weird. Nolan Ryan retires a Ranger. Wasn't always a Ranger. He retires a Ranger. Different players go to different places. But Tom Landry had to be only a Cowboy, right? Bill Belichick's not only going to be a Patriot. And I think that's what's really interesting is that, in a way, he was never a Patriot. He was a Giant. He was a Brown. He was Bill Belichick. That there was a deal before and a deal after. Do we know what a tan Belichick looks like? He's coached so long in New England. That's a great ender on the comment tonight, by the way. Can he handle the California lifestyle? Well, they play indoors now. So he'll just be indoors, and it's climate controlled, so he can wear kind of the cutoff hoodie. He'll wear the cutoff sleeve hoodie and everything else. And, the older you get, the colder you get. So, even in like 73 degrees, he'll be like my great aunt, and he'll really kind of cold here. I say it's 73, but I don't know. I don't know about you guys. I look at that sign. It says 73 degrees. It could say 64. It could say 80. We're just playing the next temperature. And I just look at the temperature, and I don't even look at the temperature. I just feel I'm either cold or I'm hot, and that's the way we coach. We're either cold or we're hot. So we're cold, we put on something, and if it's hot, we might take off something. But it's really people try to bet up temperatures and signs on how much temperature is nothing but caloric value really being expressed, an expression of what's being burned off calorie wise. Calories are heat units, and heat units are temperature. So that's really just a mathematical expression, and it doesn't take into account what we're doing as a team to either be warm or to be cold or to be hot. So as I look at it, and I'm the only one who can look at it here for this team, I'm going to wear something that'll make me warm when it's cold, and I'll wear something that when it's hot, I'm not going to be so hot. Next question. All right, that's the best Belichick you're going to get out of me tonight. I haven't done Belichick in a while. Years ago, I used to do a deal. This is going back almost 20, early 2000s. Bill Belichick reads the comic strip. The same type deal. Bill Belichick reads the funny pages. Okay. I've worn out the welcome. The whole Tom Landry thing intrigues me. I think people would have hated it. Thank you, David. It's not a great imitation. It's not a bad imitation. You gotta have the look down and everything else, whatever. End the stream. Yeah, we're gonna end the stream.